Kia ora, it is the Benchwarmers on the ACC network. A couple of Kiwi lads talking basketball, back by no demand whatsoever, kind of like the rain in Auckland. I'm Ben Boyce, leading this losing team for another week. I'm about as popular as the decision not to send Auckland kids back to school. In fact, many hoped it was me stepping down this week, but instead of Jacinda Ardern, but it's not sucked in. I'm back for another week until someone rolls me from the job here at the Benchwarmers. So let's welcome along the starting lineup with the trade deadline approaching. I've been trying to trade him to other podcasts, Bill Simmons' podcast, the other one on Rover, the basketball one. No one wants him. They all laughed in my face. It's Joel Harrison.
I'm stuck here. It's good to be back, though, on New Zealand's number one basketball podcast.
Well, you say it's number one basketball podcast, but I don't know if it is.
Japan's 137th sport podcast as well. That's how the rankings shaped up last week.
And he shares a similar name to the original Superman, and by God, we need a superhero to save this podcast. It's Chris Reive. How's it going?
Yeah, g'day, mate. Back from the G League. So playing for my spot on the team this week with the trade deadline up, it seems.
And now you work, of course, for the New Zealand Herald, so it's great to have you here today. And stalking you across some social media, doing some investigative journalism. Obviously, Orlando Magic's your team. I see you in a lot of singlets.
Yep.
That's your team. But you've also been to it looked like a Grizzlies New Orleans game was it New Orleans?
Yeah, down in New Orleans. So I was over there for the UFC. My wife and I just decided to take an extra week and go traveling, and it just worked out well that the Grizzlies and the Pelicans were playing down there. So, yeah, got in to see Steven Adams in the flesh, which was kind of disappointing because he fouled out pretty early on, or was in foul trouble real early on. But, yeah, my main takeaway from that game is, man, Ja Morant is just incredible at basketball.
Yeah, was he just
so good.
Amazing to watch. Something else I thought was amazing stalking your social media was you're very good at the arcade. Looks like the shooting game of the arcade. Like, what was the score what you said top score at the arcade?
I don't actually remember, so...
It was something like, I think you said
it was 70-something.
Yeah, I think you said 87, I think you said, unless you were lying. I was like,
either 78 or 87, I don't know. I just was firing and looked up, and that was the score. I go there for my birthday every year just because I'm a big kid.
Yeah.
So I've been getting progressively better every year. So.
What's the tactic to the arcade? Are you going backboard? Are you going straight swish, or it just doesn't matter? Just fire it up as quickly as possible.
Personally, I'm always a straight swish kind of guy.
So bloody Steph Curry of bloody arcade games, isn't he? Joel Harrison, you're so tall you could probably lean over the top and just sort of dunk it in, couldn't you?
I haven't played the arcade game for a while, but I think the last time I played it, I was pretty useless. So it could be a thing. We go back there. The Benchwarmers take down the arcade.
Well, not Chris, though. He's too bloody good for that. He's too good for this podcast, and he's too good for the arcade machine as well. Also saw you followed by Israel Adesanya as well, which is pretty amazing.
Ooh. Yeah.
It kept popping up. It was like by style bender. I was like, Jesus, he's way too good for this podcast.
Yeah, that's my claim to fame. I know Israel Adesanya. So.
That's incredible. Now, your team is obviously the Magic, but you're not going to pick them to take out the titles. I'm getting this year, take out the champs. Who are you actually picking in this year's NBA?
Big question. I think coming into the year, I picked Golden State. But I don't know, every year I keep coming back to Denver. I keep buying into what Nikola Jokic can do. And the team he has around him, if they can stay healthy, they can make a real good charge. But it's just the health on that team, eh? You can buy in, and then Jamal Murray will fall over, Aaron Gordon will go down, and then you're left with Jokic trying to do everything by himself, and it just doesn't work.
Another big week, of course, Joel. Dame got 60, I think, this week. Giannis was got a 50 game as well.
They're all looking great, yeah. Oh, Dame, he really was going off, especially in fantasy this week as well. We can talk about that later, but I think he got one of the highest, especially in my league, one of the highest fantasy scores of the season as well, which is crazy from him.
Steven Adams, who we gave big ups to last week on the podcast, got bloody injured. The commentators cursed, didn't they? Which is a real shame. And then Memphis kind of fell apart a little bit, the Grizzlies.
It's a massive shame, yeah, because we recorded the episode, and then I got home and the episode was released, and it's like, Steven Adams is out for 5 weeks, which is quite a big part to miss. People probably think we're not doing our research or something.
That's probably true. We aren't doing our research, let's be honest.
Yeah, but they clearly...
That is unprepared as a Wayne Brown for a press conference.
Exactly, mate. But they clearly need him. The Grizzlies clearly need Steven Adams.
Now, before we get into the starting five this week, Kyle Kuzma, I'm going to give him a shout out to his fit. Did you see his fit when he turned up to the game the other day? Now, I've got a picture here, which is not great for a podcast, but it's sort of like a rainbow-coloured, look, it's incredible, a cardigan, multi-coloured cardigan, and then he sort of had a balaclava matching as well with no shirt underneath. I mean, that's you got a high confidence
guy, yeah.
to pull off that. He had that big sweater at some stage last year as well, didn't he? So
yeah, with the giant sleeves.
Yeah.
I think they made a bobblehead of that this year
they
as well.
did.
Yeah.
The Wizards as well.
It's like Joseph in the Technicolor or the multicolored dream coat. You seen that one? That's the vibe.
It's cool. I mean, he does look like the most delightful ram raider that you'd ever see if someone turned up to your business dressed like that. But it's kind of cool. I love that. I saw LaMelo Ball driving in like a golden Ferrari or something online this week. They've just got so much money, yes, and also swag and confidence, which is cool.
Yeah, they really buy into the whole, showing up and making a spectacle of the whole thing. Like, it's long gone since you just rock up in a tracksuit, right?
Yeah, and it's become part of the thing. I think it was Tatum this week was kind of trolling the Lakers. Did you see he had a Kobe? It must have got it printed from probably one of those mall places at Westfield. But he had Kobe when he was obviously trialled for the Boston team, or they gave him some tryouts beforehand. He had Kobe as a Boston player on the T-shirt. Lakers fans not happy about that.
I'm not surprised.
I also saw he was wearing, obviously because it was 3 years since Kobe had died, and he was wearing the Kobe 24 Lakers thing when they were playing. I think it was against the Lakers as well. So,
he's a massive fan of Kobe Bryant as well. And something else before we get into the starting five, I just want to mention, because we got this from your social media, Dirk Nowitzki coming to New Zealand.
Yeah, weird, eh?
How's that? Was it this weekend?
Just kind of popped up. Foot Locker shared that. I believe he's doing a signing there. You had to spend $50 at Foot Locker between a certain time and you get a ticket. Yeah, I'm not sure why he's coming here, but February 4th.
It's kind of cool. So will you go along under your journalism role and try and get chat?
I've been trying to find a way to get in touch with him, but so far no luck. But we still got the rest of the week, so...
What we can do. When you go along to those sort of things, do you get many questions, or is it kind of just like one question and done?
Well, it really depends if it's actually like a media opportunity and there's a lot of media around. You kind of just, I don't know, it's different everywhere you go.
Right. You're not just a fan buying 2 pairs of socks for $50 and then trying to get a photo.
Try to not be a fan when I'm going to these things. Be very professional.
So you wouldn't get a selfie, yeah? You couldn't get a selfie if you go
I wouldn't
along.
get a selfie. I mean, I got the recording of the interview.
Is that frowned upon if you're a media and you try and ask for a selfie at the end?
I think it depends on who you are. Personally, it's not my thing. But
okay.
I'd get a photo with him.
Yeah,
I did that.
I mean, most people would.
All right, well, let's get into the starting five. Plenty to talk about this week.
This is the starting five for the Benchwarmers.
Y'all ready for this? No, I'm going to moan. I'm going to start things off with a bit of a moan. I don't like to moan, but I'm a Lakers fan because of LeBron. And this week, I feel like they're getting some tough calls. There's been about 3 or 4 games, and admittedly, they started terribly at the start of the season. That was all on them. But lately, they've been a lot better, and they've had 3 or 4 games that seem to be... they've lost by sort of harsh ref calls. Now, I'm a Lakers fan, so I've seen it through sort of Laker-coloured glasses or through Kyle Kuzma's sort of balaclava. But what did you guys think? Did you see that call on Tatum the other day at the end of the game?
Clear foul.
Well, not the call, actually. There was no call.
Like, clear foul, and shout out Pat Bev afterwards. Like, the most creative technical foul you'll ever see. Like,
I guess he got a camera. He went
and got a camera and showed it to the referee and was like, look at this call you missed, and got teed up and ejected.
Now, LeBron, he's my favourite player, but he does like to, make his feelings known out there on the court. And I think we've got some audio of him reacting to the non-foul.
Clear foul on Tatum.
And there's where, you talked about the challenge, Jeff, not having it after a successful challenge.
Right, but they wouldn't be able to challenge that anyway because it's a non-call. But again, this is exactly why replay was instituted. If we can't review that, then to me, replay serves no purpose in our game.
Overtime is...
Yeah, LeBron was jumping around like kind of like he was in pain, like he just shut his penis in the drawer or something. Something like that. He looked like he was in a lot of pain. But I was in pain watching it as well. But it seems like you just can't go up to they go to the video thing for other things, right? But they couldn't for that play. What's going on there?
Yeah, I'm not sure why that play wasn't reviewed by the referees. I'm sure referees can review a play, but I guess like Jeff Van Gundy said, because it was a no call, they don't go and review that.
And you also, because you get to have one chance, right? As a team, you get to contend one call, but then if that call is right, you don't get that sort of get to keep that call, right? It doesn't. Yeah, it's like you've done one and done no matter what happens. which seems like a crazy rule as well.
Yeah, well, I think the Lakers have blown their challenge.
But then they wouldn't be
earlier
able
in
to
the
do
game.
that anyway on that one because it wasn't actually, as you say, that wasn't actually caught up on anything. So
It just seems weird how there's every sport. There's cricket, the DRS, the VAR in football, NRL, the bunker, and they're just all so flawed. I don't know why they can't just have a replay system that works and gets the right calls done. Surely it can't be that hard.
no.
Surely.
I've watched that Netflix doco on the bloody ref that was doing bad things as well and throwing games. I'm like, well, maybe it could still be happening. I don't know.
They don't want to see LeBron win.
I don't know. Is it
It's a bit of a conspiracy.
Wouldn't it happen if Jacinda was still in charge? Is that what we need to say now? It was her fault when things were in charge. Now she's not in charge as well. So, yeah, I feel like it's one of those things. LeBron got angry, but he also got angry this week as well. A fan was yelling at something I think was a bit uncalled for.
Hey, bro, you better get this together. That receipt in that airline. Look, he mad. Look at him. You sick.
They was yelling about his hairline, LeBron. It was a gutsy move to make from a fan yelling out about his hair. But no wonder LeBron's losing his hair because the Lakers are getting bad calls. But I feel like sometimes fans do sort of step over that line.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I think it's the whole social media kind of thing where someone can record themselves saying this to LeBron. LeBron can't do anything about it. I mean, the repercussions for him are huge. These people can just sit there filming it, chuck it up on social media, get 1 million views. There you go.
Get mentioned on a good basketball podcast in New Zealand.
That's right, yeah.
One thing about LeBron, the reason he probably is losing his hair, because you said all these bad calls, and it's so tight in that race for the top 8 or the top 10 even at the moment in the West. And if there's 3 or 4 games that had gone the Lakers' way due to bad calls, they would be sitting at 6th.
And they're like 13th or something.
Now, though,
So you're right. That's only a couple of games difference. That's how tight it is. Steph Curry also got ejected this week as well, throwing his mouthpiece. Now he loves to kind of do that with the mouth guard. It's kind of like it's in, it's out. It's like my dog at night when he wants to go out to the bathroom and he's back inside. It's like put it in and put it out. What are you going to do, Steph Curry? But that's kind of his thing when he's frustrated, right?
It is. It's the only way he's ever been ejected.
Is it the only way?
Yeah, I believe he's been ejected 3 times, all for throwing his mouthpiece.
Wow. I had Curry, my wife's a big Steph Curry fan, and we were lucky enough to go to watch the game just recently at the Chase Center over there, the Golden State Warriors. And it's funny, though, because you're walking and you don't know where you're going, and you're walking to the stadium and these people have got Steph Curry tops on or other things. We'll just follow them. And then other people started following us. We got lost, but everyone just followed because you're all wearing merch. You're like, these people know where you're going. But everyone had no idea where to go.
And it is we said it last week, the most purchased NBA jersey in the world at the moment, the Stephen Curry one.
The second thing we want to talk about today, the Breakers. Making the playoffs. First time in, I think, 5 years you cover the Breakers for the Herald as well. It's been a great season, great turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, how good's a team who defend, right? If you're defending, you're winning games, and the Breakers have shown that this year.
They could still make the top 2, I think I was reading as well, too. So,
they need Cairns to slip up in one of their 2 games this week.
Great performance, because, it's been real tough the last couple of years because they've obviously been based out of Australia and not been having home games. It really makes a real difference being able to play at home.
Oh, absolutely. And we saw that in the weekend when they played at Spark. I think they had about 6,000 people turn out, even with all the flooding going on. And they clinched at least a playoff berth at home. Coach Mody Mayor went and had a little bit of a cry afterwards.
Yeah, it was quite emotional.
Quite an emotional moment for him. So it's great to see.
Hey, no, he seems awesome. I really like him. He's so intense. He's passionate, which I love about him.
He's very passionate. As soon as he came in here as an assistant coach, that was the first thing people noticed, him screaming on the sidelines while Dan Shamir was just sitting there quietly, cheering the team on. Mody's up, just yelling at people, trying to rev them up. And
imagine passionate love maker as well, too, I would imagine as well.
Oh, big time. You can imagine he's big like that in the Ruder, but yeah.
I was actually seeing a tweet that was sent around on our basketball chat that we've got going on with a couple of mates, and it was from Corey Homicide Williams, as his nickname, as well. But he said there was 9 NBA teams, 12 NBA scouts, an NBA GM, multiple NBA assistant GMs, all in attendance at the NBA Breakers versus the Brisbane Bullets the other night. How's that?
That's impressive.
Including Sean Marks, who was there, sort of courtside
as well.
Yeah, it seems like a strange thing to be doing mid-season when it's him. I'm sure Mark's will love him. He's doing great stuff, with the Nets. They've really turned things around, and he's the GM. But seems strange to come to New Zealand and be doing it mid-season. But hey,
maybe he's part-time scout now as well.
Yeah, or do a great tax write-off too.
Excuse to come home.
Yeah, I was like, come home, and it was all basketball related. I was at that game. Yeah. Make sure I'm courtside so everyone sees. We're trying to bounce around some names because Andrew Mulligan, who's a friend of mine, does a great job. Well, Joel, I'd like to say on the basketball podcast, but you don't like giving them love.
The other podcast.
The other podcast, but he also does a great job commentating the Breakers games as well. We're trying to think what his nickname would be if that guy was Corey Homicide Williams. What would it be?
Andrew Pandemonium Mulligan?
Well, yeah. Well, that's actually quite good because we were going along the something side. So we had Andrew Fireside Mulligan, which sounds romantic. Andrew Peroxide Mulligan. Andrew Poolside Mulligan, which is also good. Courtside Mulligan and Circumcised Mulligan was the options we had, but we weren't sure about the last one. So any of those, take your pick?
Probably, maybe the Circumcised one, but I cannot confirm or deny the last one.
All right, let's get into the third thing on the Benchwarmers this week. As far as the starting five goes, Jimmy Butler. Now, did he get scammed by a kid? Now, did you see this? There was a young fan, I think it was from Argentina. He flew over 4,000 miles to see Jimmy Butler play. Him and his sister were standing there. They held up a sign, and then they found out moments before the game that Jimmy Butler wasn't playing.
Now he finds out that his favorite player, Jimmy Butler, not going to play. His sister, they're both from Argentina. You could tell they're crushed. Well, there's two silver linings. Number one, this is the power of TNT Tuesdays.
Yes, it is.
Got him down there on the court, met Gabe Vincent, got some gifts. Thank you for the gifts. And Jamal, you have talked to Jimmy Butler.
I talked to Jimmy Butler. Obviously, he's really, really sick, and he couldn't make it to the game. He was watching the game on TNT, and he saw the kid, and he felt really, really bad. So he has the kid's information, and let's just say the kid will be even happier than he would have if he played. So I'm really, really excited. That's the Jimmy Butler I know.
Yeah, so he had the sign saying, "I love Jimmy Butler. I've come all this way to watch you play. Can I get a photo or a coffee?" Because he had that big face coffee during the NBA bubble, and then he didn't play. But then Butler made good, took him back behind the scenes, showed him around, gave him a singlet. I think they were courtside for the next game as well. But then NBA Twitter, which is a negative place at the best of times.
Twitter in general is pretty negative.
Oh, this family did the same thing at a Golden State Warriors game. Trying to take with the sister holding a Steph Curry sign. But I was like, well, surely she could be a Steph Curry fan and he could be a Jimmy Butler fan, and they could have flown all the way from Argentina on the same trip.
Yeah, it's a league where players are more popular than the teams, right? So that's very plausible. And I mean, there's so many players getting rested every now and then. Obviously, Jimmy was quite sick, and that's why he didn't play. But I mean, you could probably do that and get away with it, right? Just have someone different holding the sign every time.
Are you trying to say that those kids are scamming?
No, it's a pretty expensive scam, though, right?
Well, yeah, for what? It wasn't guaranteed that he was going to get that amazing thing, and good on him.
I haven't seen any of these allegations. Have you been sparking them up, Benny?
Just on the burner on Twitter.
It was Kevin Durant had the burner once, didn't he? Actually, speaking of Kevin Durant, he got into a bit of a back and forward with Shaq this week. This just shows NBA Twitter how brutal they are. Rui Hachimura was obviously a player that got picked by the Lakers now, got drafted across. And Shaq said, if you're not a top 10 player, I don't know who you are. In response to that, coming across from the Wizards. And then Kevin Durant said, Shaq doesn't know ball, ? Shaq replied, I don't know ball, but I know how to brush my hair or know when to cut it when I'm going bald. Love the bus driver. And then Katie replied, damn, I got cooked for asking a simple question as well. Of course, that was in reference to, I think, Charles Barkley's comment during the playoffs that Durant needed to be more of the bus driver, not just riding along the bus as well. But just brutal out there for all to see.
Yeah, I think if you question anyone, you got to expect that kind of response on Twitter nowadays, right? Everyone's trying to cook everyone else.
We're going for the hair.
It's a touchy subject.
People going to LeBron's hair. People having a crack at KD's hair.
Two of the greatest athletes in probably any sport of the last 10 years, and they're just getting cooked for something they can't control, their hairline,
Well, I mean, they can control it, right? They can shave it off.
They could. Israel Dare controlled it, so yeah.
That's true. I keep telling my mate Jono about that. He can control it, but he won't do that. Now, All-Star weekend, not too far away. LeBron and Giannis are the team captains, but there's a bit of a plot twist this year. So the teams get to pick... Well, captains get to pick their team kind of like schoolyard basketball just before the game. Is that what's happening? Do you know anything about this, Chris?
Yeah, it's like they've changed it from when all the players were announced or something. They do on ESPN like quite a while beforehand. Now it's an hour before the game. it's really weird.
It's going to be a little awkward for some of the players, some of their egos, right? I would imagine if you're the last picked.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're still an all-star,
yes,
right?
That's the thing. But they all probably want to be number one or picked near the top as well. Any surprises you've seen? Because they've announced some of the pools of starters as well. I guess Kyrie KD for the Nets are there, which Kyrie's kind of turned things around, particularly with the fans. Obviously, things weren't going that well at the start of the season for that. And Donovan Mitchell, his first all-star start.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell, I was really happy to see him in there. I was a little bit skeptical about how he was going to go in Cleveland playing alongside Garland, but those two together have been amazing, and he's just taken extra steps this year, scoring like a menace, and it's great to watch.
So I think, yeah, they have to pick they have to pick the starters first, and then they can pick the bench players afterwards. But who would you guys pick if you had the pick out of those 8? Who would it be?
Do we know who's picking first?
Well, I think that, I guess to get paper, scissors, rock, LeBron versus Giannis, or something. There must be some massive coin they'll flip or something.
Because so far we've got the Easters that announced Kyrie, Durant, Giannis, Mitchell, and Tatum, which is pretty amazing so far. And then in the West, LeBron, Curry, Joker, Luka, and Zion. Zion getting in there as well too. So does that mean they guarantee? Sorry, I shouldn't ask this because I'm on a basketball podcast, but this is a fan podcast, so we definitely don't know everything. You would have heard it before. So does that mean he's starting Zion, or does that just mean?
Unless he's too injured and can't play the game, then he's starting.
So LeBron can't go, oh, hang on, no, I want to bring in my mate AD or anything like that last minute?
Nah, he can't. I don't think the players have any say in who gets to replace.
He just
someone
gets
in the starting
to choose
team
from the other players there on the day. I see.
Someone will be brought in if someone else can't play.
The All-Star Dunk Contest has been massive over the years, but not so much of late. And I don't want to bag the people that are there because I'm sure they're amazing at who they are, but not big names, I would say, for people like myself who follow a little bit of basketball but don't know everything.
I haven't even seen who's in the dunk contest.
So we got Trey Murphy the third as well. I think Trey Murphy first and second weren't available, so they went for the third. We've got Sharp, Martin Jr. and Mac McClung, who of course does some great stuff I've seen online as well, but I think he plays in the G League.
Yeah, he plays for
the amazing dunker.
Golden State G League team.
Yeah.
But I think Trey Murphy the third he's probably the most
very
popular
bouncy,
player.
Very bouncy dude.
It'll be exciting.
It'll be great if Jar was there, I think, and the players like that. But I guess that doesn't happen anymore, right?
No, I was hoping that Aaron Gordon got voted into the All-Star game because he made that stipulation. If he gets voted in, then he'll do the dunk contest again, and everyone wants to see that.
Yeah. Well, he kind of got robbed of that. Well, I think we mentioned that on another podcast a couple of weeks ago. Chris Key, who's currently getting married at the moment, but his theory was that they go too hard too early on they give 10s away too easily at the start. And then people do better dunks than that later, but you've already given away 50, so you can't really go higher than that.
Yeah, they found themselves in a little bit of a tough spot in that battle between Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine. They were just throwing 50s down the whole time. Like that dunk contest could have gone on for a while.
Well, yeah, it was pretty epic, but you're right. He kind of felt like he did the better dunks overall, but they'd already awarded all the points.
It feels like it's good that they're changing up a few things of the All-Star weekend as well. And I reckon when it does come, it might be next year, might be the year after, might be 10 years down the track when they do USA versus the world. Just remember, we came up with that idea here in the Benchwarmers Podcast.
Joel has been pushing that, which is it's got a bit of traction. I don't think from us, but
I don't know if you can claim came up with it when the rookie game is already USA versus the world.
We're coming up with that. We bullied that little kid as well. We didn't.
Third episode, we came up with that. We'll have to go find that audio somewhere.
I'm sure it had other traction for elsewhere, but that would be one heck of a game if you had like a world selection taking on the US selection.
Yeah, imagine. The world with Doncic, Jokic, and Giannis.
Yeah.
I don't know if I
taking on Trey Murphy Jr., Matt McClung, and other available players as well. Now, there's some random bit of basketball news that I've discovered, which was from a long time ago, but Kenny Rogers. Now, he wrote the unofficial New Zealand anthem, The Gambler.
You got to know.
Looks like Santa Claus. He's got the white beard and the hair. Now, Michael Jordan was a well-renowned gambler as well, and they were apparently kind of mates, so they got together on the celebrity circuit and they hung out a little bit. And there was an exhibition game. Kenny Rogers was playing. Now he looks like he's Santa Claus. He looks like he's been about 100 for many of his
most of his life.
Yeah, exactly. He was playing as well, and he faked out Michael Jordan and he hit a shot. Have we got the commentary?
Yeah, we got that. It sounds very well. It's obviously from years ago, so we apologise about that one.
Okay.
Get out of here, fella. Now, A fake. Kenny Rogers puts Jordan in the popcorn machine and hits a 21-footer. How about that shot? Great play. Even the great players are faked out of position at times, but not all the time. Block shot. Gentlemen, at 18, the first team to 22 wins it.
So Kenny Rogers faked him out as well. Kenny Rogers looking about 200 years old, but it faked him out as well. Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest player of all time. And then, like Michael Jordan on that Netflix doco, I think he took it personally because he came back and it was a fun game. And then all of a sudden he just switched into top gear and he was dunking on everyone, rejecting everyone as well. So it shows Michael Jordan's competitive spirit, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think anyone who's watched The Last Dance probably wouldn't be surprised by that story in any way.
Where'd you find? Was this from when you were back in the day?
I was there, mate. I was filming it. I was in the crowd too. I was loving it. But Jordan, just hugely competitive. On that same article as well, I was reading about. Apparently, he went to some Jordan brand camp. It was for Jordan shoes. They were doing this thing. They brought along all these kids, and then Chris Paul was there as well. And it was meant to be a fun thing for these kids. And he said, if Jordan misses one of the free throws he's going to take, everyone gets free Jordans, and the kids are loving it. And I think Jordan would have lined now 30 in a row, so no one would get any free pairs of Jordans. He's just ultra competitive, and that's what kind of makes him as good as he was.
Yeah, absolutely. You do need to be of a certain breed to play as well as he did for as long as he did in the era that he did. It's a very, very tough era of basketball.
We talk about our favourite players from time to time on this podcast. What about yourself, Chris? You got a favourite player?
Shaquille O'Neal was the guy who got me into the game.
Right.
Yep.
How about any players currently? I see you're wearing a Markelle Fultz jersey at the moment.
I do like Markelle Fultz.
Fultz is,
It's fun.
Yeah. It's a deep cut, I guess, in some ways. You've got to be a Magic fan, but he's great. He's great,
Yeah, when he's healthy, he goes all right.
He is, yeah.
So, but absolute favourite, I don't really know.
Was that Shaq and the Magic? Was that Shaq,
Yeah.
the Magic era of Penny Hardaway, that?
Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of got into it like late 90s.
Yeah.
Just watching clips here and there, but just seeing clips of Shaq.
There's a great
being the
doco,
man.
actually, of Shaq, and you've probably seen it with Shaq and Penny, and it's kind of their story and how they were kind of this emerging team, and they took the Bulls to the thing, and they were looking like they were going to be the next kind of dynasty, and then they kind of lost it when they didn't pay Shaq.
Yeah, then
what he
Shaq left to
deserved.
the Lakers, and it all kind of went downhill from there.
But if only they paid Shaq, what could have been? I guess, I make you feel sad by bringing up that story.
If we take LeBron out of the mix, who's your favourite player, Ben? Just say LeBron just never plays again tomorrow. We're like a current player. Who is it going to be?
I do like Giannis because he's an amazing player, but also I love a bad dad joke, and he seems like he enjoys that probably more than dunking on people. The fact that he comes out with dad jokes in press conferences.
He loves a dad joke.
Have you got to interview anyone in the NBA?
A couple of guys. Steven Adams recently.
Trey Murphy.
No, not Trey Murphy.
I feel like we're back at Trey Murphy. He's great.
Only Steven Adams recently, but I was in Atlanta a few years ago and got to talk to Vince Carter and John Collins as well. So that was quite cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So how long would you get for something like that?
That was just a very quick chat after the game.
Do they kind of dig your vibe, or do you always want to walk away feeling like, oh, they liked me, or is that just me when I go talk to people?
Well, no, you don't want to walk away with the feeling, okay, that guy thought I was a dick.
Yeah, right.
But John Collins was really cool. The first thing he asked me was, "Oh, are you a Blues fan? Like Super Rugby?"
Really?
And that kind of threw me way off.
The Blues,
Yeah. I was like,
is he a Blues fan?
I assume so.
Wow, that's unusual.
Yeah, so that was when Chelsea Lane was working with the Hawks.
Right.
And so maybe she got him onto them or something.
John Collins, to be fair, does sound like a 6-year-old middle-aged white guy from New Zealand, John Collins.
Loves the Blues, mate.
Yeah, loves the Blues.
Loves watching the Blues with his arms folded in the stands at Eden Park, not cheering. Welcome back to the Benchwarmers for another week. We're talking basketball with Joel, Chris, and myself, Ben, and let's go to the stat bunker.
I got an interesting fact here. I think that you chucked it into the run sheet, Ben. It's a great one here because obviously Dame had a massive week last week and he did score 60 points, which puts him into the list, number 3 for the third most 60-point games by anyone to ever play NBA. He scored 5 in his career, which is pretty incredible. And there are 2 people above him. Do you guys know who do you think they'll be?
Oh, Chamberlain? Would Wilt Chamberlain be in there?
Yeah, he's number 1.
Yeah.
60-point games.
60-point games.
Kobe in there?
Kobe, it is Kobe.
Kobe, yeah.
So Lillard has 5 now, Kobe has 6, and Chamberlain has 32. 32, which is when you look at the scoring, like his 100-point game, he just dominated. He must have. Did he ever pass the ball? Did he ever get? I don't know.
He didn't need to.
Throw it down in the post up for a dunk. Easy.
Another one here, another fact from the week that also you did send through to me, Ben, as well. So thank you for thanks for carrying this content.
Right.
LeBron, he scored a 40-point game against the Clippers last week. He was going off, and I was kind of disappointed that they took him off when he was on about 46 because he probably could have gone to 60 or something. But it was the last team in the NBA that he hadn't scored a 40-point game against. So now every single team in the league he scored his 40 points against.
That's crazy, that he scored 40 points against every team.
He might as well retire now. He's got no more records to try to go for, right?
Yeah, none at all. Nothing meaningful
he's
anyway.
Very, very, very close to that, the all-time scoring record as well, which they predicted he's going to get, I think, in a few weeks' time now as well. So as long as he doesn't get injured or anything.
Is there going to be any trades that are going to sneak through? Because what are we, about 10 days or so away from the trade deadline? Is there anything you've heard? I mean, you kind of get sick of these rumours that you read something every day. You're like, Bradley Beal's going here, Zach LaVine's going here, someone's going to trade. Well, 99% of it doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden, the Lakers trade someone. You're like, well, I never heard anything about this. So, do you think anyone's going to trade it? Any big surprises that's going to happen?
I think the Lakers are going to make some sort of move. I don't know what kind of move they're going to make, though. They don't really have any, good picks to throw away. They've got their first round pick next year, I think, goes to New Orleans anyway.
Yeah.
Obviously, Russell Westbrook, everyone's calling for him to move. And, I could see Westbrook being moved, but I don't know what kind of package they get back for that.
Well, because he's actually been pretty good of late.
Yeah, he has been. He just has the odd game where he goes a little bit hero ball and the fans turn on him, and
he's obviously sucking up a lot of the salary cap as well,
yeah.
which kind of makes a huge difference to the rest of the squad. But he's still a very athletic player. But you're right, they're kind of in that position now. What do they do? Because it's the last year of his contract.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of wasting LeBron this year, right? You look at what LeBron's doing, they're sitting in 13th place.
That shot at the end of that game where he had 46 points, he's just sitting there looking dejected as their team's getting crushed by the Clippers. It
was disappointing because we were sitting outside and someone was like, oh, LeBron's going off. So came in and watched the game, and then they were down by 10. Then I think the Clippers hit 2 threes. It was down by 16. There's 6 minutes to go. Anything can happen. That's about 30 minutes normal time, 6 minutes NBA time as well. And then they just come on with their C team squad, which that is obviously they want to preserve these players, don't want them to get injured and stuff. But when you need wins, should have left the big dogs on like LeBron.
And now I know, Chris, you like asking the hard questions for the New Zealand Herald. I'm going to throw one to you quickly. You haven't done this for a couple of weeks, but I often talk about something my mate would do. If you took the actual team name and you put them up against another team name, so if you took an actual grizzly bear and put it up against a raptor, that's the round this week, who would win that fight to the death?
We're talking Velociraptor.
You were talking about Velociraptor?
Single Velociraptor?
Yeah, taking on one grizzly bear.
I'm taking the grizzly bear in that.
You're taking the grizzly bear?
I'm taking the grizzly bear.
Any
what I've learned
reason?
from Jurassic Park is Velociraptors are group hunters.
Ah.
So I think the grizzly bear takes it.
Very good answer to that one, Joel.
Shout out Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Well, are we talking about a group of
No, we're not talking about a group. It's a one-on-one, mate.
Oh, you can't look. Oh, I guess I don't know. I've never seen either in person, but I'll go Grizzlies. You make the final call, Ben. What it's going to be? I know you hate making the.
No, I think I'll go with grizzly bear as well. Jurassic. Yeah, so maybe that's the thing that they need to sort out the next Jurassic Park movie. Is just put a whole lot of grizzly bears through there, because they don't learn on the Jurassic Park movies. It's the same thing every time. They keep bringing the dinosaurs back, and it doesn't work out. Much like this podcast is, why do we keep coming back? But let's get into fantasy.
Hey there, what's your fantasy?
Sorry, fantasy basketball? Yeah, basketball.
Now, we've both got our own fantasy teams that we play in our own leagues, Joel. And we've also got the Benchwarmers fantasy team, which is kind of neglected. It kind of feels like the stepchild in our relationship that we don't really sort of pay much attention to. You're like, and he's like, you're not my real dad. But how are we going this week? Because I haven't even checked on it, to be honest.
Well, I was supposed to be looking after the team last week, but it looks like Adam saved the day, producer Adam, who can't make it in today because of the flooding, but that's just his. I should have said his apologies earlier as well. But he did the changes last week. We got the win, and we're now 10-4-0.
That's not bad.
So it's not bad.
Are you playing fantasy?
I am very terribly, very injury riddled this year.
I remember last time you said Cade Cunningham was the man you're centering your team around. Which is,
that went really well. So he's just like sitting in the injury reserve. We're looking for next year now.
Building to, is it one of those keeper leagues or not?
Yeah,
it is.
So my main league is a keeper league.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Makes
we're building
things tricky.
towards next year.
Is there a player that you guys have had, like maybe a good player, a bad player, that you could recommend if people are playing that? It's not necessarily it has to be the top player, but maybe on that sort of fringes of the sort of trade on the wire?
Yeah, well, for me, my best pickup of the year is SGA, Shea, Gorgeous, all-star starter, whatever his last name is. But he's been playing incredible, and he's averaging like 60 points, fantasy points, because we do points, not category, which a lot of people say is the kindergarten version of it, but it's very fun.
Way to go, man. It is. Points leagues are way better.
I know, it's great. But SGA has been my best pickup, especially because I got him at like 32nd overall in the draft, which is a steal. But for me, someone who hasn't been that, like he's been good, he was my first pick. I got him about 7th or 8th. But because the Grizzlies have been so dominant, he just gets taken off in the fourth quarter, and he kind of hasn't been putting up, he gets quite a lot of points, but he hasn't been putting up like what the other like massive players have been scoring. So I probably wouldn't pick Ja next year, but which is very, very controversial because he's been averaging like over 50 points for me, but he hasn't been doing those massive games like someone like Doncic or would have been.
Anyone for you, Chris, that's been performing all right, or are you waiting for Cade to come back?
I got a couple. Tyrese Halliburton is one who kind of flew under the radar at the start of the year, but I think everyone's kind of cotton on to him and what he does assisting now. Alperen Şengün as well, big European centre at the Rockets. He's only getting better and better. And one who might still be on some waiver wires is Bruce Brown for the Denver Nuggets.
The Nuggets, yeah.
He just fills stat categories. So if you're in a stats league, he's quite a handy player to have.
It's kind of hard also too. Like last year I played, I was very erratic. I would have been a terrible coach, culling players left, right and centre. I've tried to be consistent this year, but it's hard to know how long you ride out a player for because they do go through slumps. I had Chris Paul, who had been going that well, but now sort of has turned the corner. So I was glad about that. But then someone like Kyle Lowry, I've sort of still hanging on with him, and he's
I have him as well.
That's a trap, I reckon. Kyle Lowry's a trap. He's not the player he was at the Raptors.
He's still getting 30 minutes a night, and he's still good, but some of the things don't equate to the, so I'm
definitely not putting up the same
numbers. Do I let him go? I mean,
he's
probably got a family. He's probably worried about,
I mean, you can try and trade him, right?
Worried about his, home. He probably likes it in Miami. I'm like, do I let him go? What's going on?
At the start of the year, I remember you told me Gary Trent Jr., get around him. Like he's a guy you loved having last year. And then I got him, and then he was sort of injured and he wasn't really delivering, so I let him go. And then he's just been unreal.
Put up 34 games across the board.
My flatmate's like, why'd you let him go? I was like, oh well.
It's the mistakes you make.
Yeah, what can you say in that situation? I
think because playoffs for fantasy comes up a lot, or especially in the one I'm in. I think this one as well. So it looks like playoffs are going to be kind of soon for this as well. So we might have to start really trying in the Benchwarmers fantasy and try get that ring for the Shapiro's Keeper League.
Before we go, we'll have a quick look at some of our favourite, funniest moments from the week.
It's the big alley. Ooh, it's not the one, It's not the one.
Kevin Garnett, anything is possible. Kevin Garnett was talking this, I think it was this week on a podcast, and he was talking about a drink he used to enjoy when he was pretty tired.
Do you actually drink coffee and Gatorade combined?
Not anymore.
That's crazy.
But I used to. Listen, for about 4 or 5 years, when I'll sit back and watch kind of the 95 footage to 99, I was like, I knew what I was. Yeah, that's that Dunkin' Donuts.
So coffee and Gatorade when he was tired from out of the games. Now you know what I'm doing here, guys. I saw some Gatorade in the supermarket last night, and I've seen producer Joel, who's young, early 20s, eats anything promotional that comes at the radio station. So I want you to be the guinea pig on that one. I'm tipping into a glass right now.
Ben, I'll try anything once.
A little bit of Gatorade. We've got some coffee from the kitchen right now. We can sort of stir that around. And so see if Kevin Garnett was right.
I was going to say, we haven't boiled the coffee or anything, so it's just grains and Gatorade.
Grains and Gatorade.
We could have just faked this, but Ben's brought it in in as well.
I'm like Daniel Day-Lewis. You got to go full method.
Trying it out.
Okay, what do you think? Coffee, Gatorade. I don't know what the ratio should be either, too. So of how much coffee per Gatorade.
It's not bad. It's honestly.
Yeah, but you eat anything. Like anything promotional, anything expired, you eat.
Because I'm sure he probably wasn't running the instant. I think this is probably the lowest of low quality instant coffee, just straight into Gatorade. Did he heat it up? Did he boil it?
I mean, he's probably got like an espresso machine.
Was it an espresso?
Espresso shot.
Yeah.
Into
I can.
As you might be onto something.
No,
there.
we could be. I might be having one of these tomorrow morning when we come into work.
Oh, there you go. Now, Cedi Osman from the Cavs this week. He was one of the players mic'd up, and I imagine he would make a terrible FBI undercover agent because he was going around telling everyone he was wearing a mic.
I am mic'd up. I got mic on me.
Good thing he told everybody.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think he was obviously concerned what conversations they were going to have, the boys before the game. But, yeah.
I feel like that's a bit of an unspoken rule in the NBA now that if you are mic'd up, you go around telling everyone because you see it quite often now.
Well, because you imagine people could have, some they could say some stuff, or maybe heart-to-heart relationship, problems they could be having at home. They could share before the game, and that could be broadcast on ESPN.
Yeah, I feel like every time someone knows that they have a mic, they put it on 110% as well. Like they're going around, they're trying to talk to people. It's like, oh, LeBron, I played with your dad. LeBron, remember that one? But yeah, I don't know. Good on him for letting people know.
Now, we'll jump ahead to Doc Rivers this week. Now, he was talking about his son-in-law, Seth Curry, is right. I think he was talking about after the game. He had a massive game this week against Doc Rivers, the team he was coaching, and he wasn't happy about the new family dynamic.
Yeah, I wanted to just smack him. I'm not kidding either. I was going to go over and see my grandkids on Sunday, and now I'm rethinking that now from that performance. He was great. I mean, he made every shot. But, that's how players are when they come back.
Seth Curry's been actually really playing quite well of late. But that must be an awkward situation when you're kind of playing against family.
Yeah, imagine just Doc rocking up to his house the next day and Seth just grinning at him, just standing there. Welcome.
You can take the grandkids now. I'm going out for a couple of hours. And I don't know what the audio is like of this one, but Joel Embiid this week, a great shot, did a bit of a celebration, and he was sort of humping the air like a Randy Corgi.
One of the best pickups of the offseason. Embiid in the lane, gets the bounce and one, and letting the crowd know that he's excited.
He's excited, letting the crowd know.
Bit of a hot take from me here. I don't like Joel Embiid.
You don't like him?
I do not.
He's entertaining.
He's great.
Entertaining and a good player.
Yeah.
What would you want?
I love him. And I love this week he was hanging out with Kevin Hart at the football. He even gave a photo together because obviously he's huge and Kevin Hart isn't quite as much. And it was like father and son hanging out at the football, which was cute.
I think if any team could not win it this year, who has a chance of winning it, for me it'd be the 76ers. I'd love to.
Yeah.
I loved it when Kawhi Leonard shot over his face last time a few years ago.
I felt bad for him. He got snubbed, I thought, from the All-Star, the starters so far, because he's been playing really well.
He has been, but it's the same like every year. Someone has to miss out, right?
Yeah.
And I guess the Philly fans just aren't as into voting as Brooklyn.
It seems like those big market teams, though, right? Yeah,
absolutely. You see it every year in LA, like
Austin Reeves. I like Austin Reeves as a player, but he's not quite at the All-Star caliber level yet. But he's in there.
Not yet.
We talked about even like Derrick Rose, who's been a legend, getting in there as well. So it just seems like the teams with either big fan bases or players with big fan bases still get through.
Yeah, like Zaza Pachulia a few years ago. Got the whole of Georgia to vote for him.
All right, well, that is the Benchwarmers for another week. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Chris, for coming along. It's been lots of fun.
I reckon one thing I can say before we leave, New York Knicks, don't sleep on them. Don't sleep on the Knicks.
I disagree. It's the Knicks. They're going to do something very Knicksy and blow it.
It's a city that never sleeps, so maybe you're right.
Don't sleep on
the Knicks. We'll find out what's going to be happening in the trade. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll catch you next week on the Benchwarmers.